Igor Tudor's future at Tottenham Hotspur remains at serious risk ahead of Sunday's visit to Liverpool, a journalist for Fabrizio Romano has revealed. Jurgen Klinsmann has thrown his hat into the ring for the Tottenham job, insisting he would develop a really nasty, ugly fighting spirit in the players. ESPN have stated a case as to why Spurs won't get relegated and claim that according to stats, only 5 teams have a kinder run-in than Spurs. Harry Redknapp states that Daniel Levy says he would have had him back at Spurs if he was in charge, and an article suggests that the shock of relegation could force long overdue change at Tottenham Hotspur. Here are your daily Tottenham news headlines. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig and here are your daily Tottenham news headlines where I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube and are not already yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit the follow button and leave a review if you can. And please make sure you turn on the notification bell so you get notified whenever we go live or upload a video to the channel. Okay, let's get into it. Gimme Sport claim that Igor Tudor's future at Tottenham Hotspur remains at serious risk ahead of Sunday's visit to Liverpool, journalist Fabrizio Romano has revealed. The North London side have not ruled out making another managerial change before the end of the season following Tudor's disappointing start to life at the club. Romano, speaking on his YouTube channel, revealed that Tottenham remain open to making another managerial change following Tudor's difficult start. What's happening with Igor Tudor is that Tottenham at the moment, while I'm recording this video, have confirmed that Igor Tudor will take the press conference on Friday ahead of the Liverpool game. But obviously he remains at serious risk of being sacked by Spurs at any moment. We could see when this could happen, also based on the Liverpool game, said Romano. But obviously the situation at Tottenham is still very fluid, very open in terms of the manager for the short term. For the long term, they appointed Igor Tudor with a short-term contract because in the summer it's already clear that Tudor will go. Tottenham appear to have several candidates to replace Tudor should they make a change. The list includes former interim boss Ryan Mason, ex-Spurs striker Robbie Keane, former Nottingham Forest boss Sean Dyche and ex-boss Harry Redknapp. Spurs have also been recently tipped to appoint former Brighton and Newcastle boss Chris Hughton, who remains unemployed following his sacking as Ghana head coach in 2024. Mauricio Pochettino is some bookies' favourite to become Tottenham's next permanent manager after the season's finished. The Argentine would be open to returning even if Spurs are playing in the Championship in the football season 26-27, almost 7 years after his sacking. Football's 365 report that Jurgen Klinsmann has also thrown his hat into the ring for the Tottenham job, insisting he would develop a really nasty, ugly fighting spirit in the players, and the former Spurs striker Klinsmann insists he would be open to the challenge. Klinsmann is currently available, having been sacked by South Korea in February 2024 after their defeat in the semi-final of the Asia Cup. He told ESPN who wouldn't want the job. It's Tottenham. Whoever you choose, you need a person who can connect to everyone emotionally, that knows the club, that feels the people, because to get out of this mess, they need to develop a fighting spirit, a really nasty, ugly fighting spirit, and that goes only over the emotions. So you don't need to have to bring in this mastermind of tactical stuff or whatever you need to have somebody who gets everybody on board and go and get those games done in a positive way and get behind everybody and the fact that they're in danger of going down to the Championship. So no matter who you put in charge now, it goes only over the emotions, the willingness to suffer and the fight. Maybe take the ball away from some of the ball boys on the sidelines. And Klinsmann was referencing the clash between Pedro Neto and the PSG ball boys boy in Chelsea's 5-2 defeat on Wednesday, and also reflected on Tudor's decision to take Spurs goalkeeper Klinsmann off just 17 minutes into the tie against Atletico Madrid. Klinsmann added, "I think if you ask him, Tudor, today, that he reflects about the decision-making before the game to play him, then during the game, obviously, to sub him off after 17 minutes, he would rethink the whole situation. Obviously, it's a killer for the kid. It's the worst thing that a goalkeeper can go through. I feel for the kid because my own son is a goalkeeper and I hope never gets a moment like that. He will obviously make mistakes and he will make similar mistakes like Klinsmann but there is obviously then to get pulled off after 17 minutes in a game in front of a sold-out crowd because you have these two blackouts is simply brutal. So I think we all felt for the boy, and obviously you're on the ground, you get back up and you get going, but this is a massive shocker for a young player like him. He threw him in the cold water in that moment. The water was too cold. He made those two huge mistakes, and then the other story to discuss certainly is how you react to it. Just drag him until half time. Maybe then you can talk to him and then explain that you will sub him off and bring Vicario in that moment. He decided to do it after 17 minutes, and that is huge punishment for a young kid like him. ESPN has stated that a case as to why Spurs won't get relegated despite all the doom and gloom. There are plenty of factors that still suggest Tottenham will be a Premier League team next season. Chief among them is the objective difficulty of their remaining fixtures in comparison to their fellow relegation battlers. They may have fluffed their lines in a big way against Crystal Palace, but with games to come against Forest, Brighton, Wolves and Leeds and Everton, there are opportunities for Spurs to pick up the points they need. By Opta's reckoning, only 5 teams in the division have a kinder run-in than Tudor's side. The match between Spurs and Forest in North London is likely to prove pivotal, of course. Lose that, though, and the rest will look much harder. Forest, meanwhile, face matches against Aston Villa, Chelsea, Newcastle and Manchester United, while West Ham will play Manchester City, Villa, Arsenal and Newcastle. It's also worth noting and considering that only one of West Ham, Forest and Spurs and Leeds will join Burnley and Wolves in the Championship next season, so the odds are with Tudor's side. Forest are in a comparable situation to Spurs, 1 win in 8 games on their 4th manager of the season, 19th in the form table and lost to West Ham and Leeds recently. Another positive sign is the ever-reliable Opta supercomputer, which at this stage gives Spurs just an 18.09% chance of going down. The figure may seem optimistic at first glance, but Opta's meticulously maintained model reflects betting market odds and Opta's power of rankings, both of which are based on historical and recent team performances, as well as the statistical likelihood of outcomes of the remaining fixtures. Postecoglou's team finished 17th last year with 38 points. It was a campaign that saw a record low total points needed to avoid the drop of 26. This season, Spurs are likely to need between 36 and 38 points to survive. 2 wins and a draw could be enough for Spurs. While the 40-point mark has long been held up as the required total needed to stave off relegation, data shows that 36 points has been enough to survive in 18 of the 30 Premier League seasons that have been played to date. Former Spurs boss Harry Redknapp has revealed that he would be willing to return to manage Tottenham Hotspur if the club asked him, while also claiming that ex-chairman Daniel Levy told him he would have brought him back to the club already. In a recent interview, Redknapp said that Levy unexpectedly phoned him last week and the pair spoke for around an hour about Levy's departure from Spurs. During the conversation, Redknapp claimed that Levy told him that if he was still running the club, he would have appointed him as manager on a short-term basis until the end of the season. Redknapp, who managed Spurs, of course, between 2008 and 2012, admitted the conversation left him intrigued about what might have happened. However, the 79-year-old also acknowledged that he does not realistically expect the current Tottenham leadership to approach him about taking the job. Despite that, Redknapp insisted he would be happy to help if called upon. He said he would do it for sure if offered the role, suggesting the job would mainly be about lifting morale and restoring belief in the dressing room rather than implementing complex coaching ideas during a busy schedule. The comments come with Tottenham struggling near the bottom of the Premier League amid Tudor's interim reign, leading to renewed speculation about potential changes on the touchline again as the club fights to, of course, avoid relegation. And Tottenham Hotspur's alarming slide towards the Premier League relegation zone has prompted a proactive argument that the club might actually benefit from going down, with one columnist suggesting the shock of relegation could force long overdue change at the North London side. Writing in The Guardian, football writer Jonathan Liu describes the possibility of relegation as a macabre but potentially necessary outcome for a club he believes has drifted dangerously far from its sporting purpose. Spurs, once regular challengers near the top of the Premier League and finalists in the 2019 Champions League final, now find themselves embroiled in a fight for survival after years of decline. According to Liu, Tottenham's problems cannot simply be blamed on a single manager or a poor run of form. Instead, the club's struggles are presented as the inevitable consequence of years of strategic confusion following the departure of Mauricio Pochettino in 2019. Since then, Spurs have lurched between different managerial approaches, moving from pragmatic football under Jose Mourinho to attacking experiments under Ange Postecoglou before eventually turning to interim coach Igor Tudor during the current crisis. This constant upheaval, the article argues, has left the club without a clear footballing identity. Each managerial appointment has arrived with a different vision, forcing repeated rebuilds and creating a squad assembled for conflicting styles of play. The piece also highlights what it sees as a deeper cultural shift within the club during the ownership of the ENIC Group. Tottenham have enjoyed enormous commercial growth during this period, culminating in the opening of the vast Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, widely regarded as one of the most impressive venues in world football. However, Liu argues that while the club has excelled as a business, the football operation has stagnated. Spurs have become a global entertainment brand capable of hosting NFL games, concerts and other events, yet their performances on the pitch have increasingly failed to match their financial ambitions. The article suggests that this imbalance has allowed mediocrity to linger without serious consequences. Tottenham have remained wealthy and relevant commercially, even as their results have deteriorated, meaning there has been little genuine pressure to overhaul the club's sporting structure. Relegation in this context is presented as a brutal but potentially cleansing moment. Liu contends that dropping out of the Premier League would strip away the illusion that Spurs are still among England's elite and force the club to confront its failings more honestly. Such a fall would also impose immediate financial and sporting pressures that could not be ignored. Revenues would drop sharply, the squad would likely need restructuring, and the club's hierarchy would be forced to make difficult decisions about recruitment, leadership and long-term strategy. The columnist suggests that this kind of shock has historically helped other clubs rediscover their identity after periods of complacency. Without the security blanket of the Premier League status, Tottenham might be forced to reconnect with their footballing roots and rebuild with a clearer sense of purpose. While acknowledging the enormous risks involved, including financial losses and the possibility of becoming stuck outside the top flight, the article concludes that Spurs may ultimately need a dramatic wake-up call. In Liu's view, the club's current trajectory of drift, managerial churn and underachievement cannot continue indefinitely without consequences. In that sense, the threat of relegation is not portrayed as simply as a disaster, but as a moment of reckoning for a club that has spent years of balancing commercial success with diminishing football returns. Okay, here's my thoughts on those stories today. Firstly, Fabrizio Romano on Igor Tudor. The whole Tudor thing, to be honest. I just think they've got to get rid. I can't believe I'm even calling for a manager's head, second one in a season, but this is clearly not working under Tudor. And Romano stated that, he's under serious pressure. He will know that. The club will know that. I would imagine Vinay and Johan are scratching their heads. But to be honest, this is on them. This is on the board. They've made the wrong appointment again. We all know this. I don't know anybody that wants Tudor to stay, to be honest with you. And I include the people online that, if you go on X, I don't see anybody saying that Tudor needs to be given time. At least some still were saying that give Frank the time. I haven't seen anybody say this. So I just don't see how this guy stays in post. And this is not something you can risk. You can take a risk on and hope it improves. I think you have to make a change now. The only reason I can see why they haven't made a change is the fact that the club see the Liverpool game as a dead rubber, that we got no chance of winning, and I kind of agree with that, sadly. So they don't want a new manager to come in for a game that we're clear underdogs in, and with the injuries we've got, and with obviously we don't know at the moment if Romero, at the time of recording anyway, if Romero and Paolini are going to be playing. Danzo was limping at the end, so was Spence. So we could be even more down to bare bones against Liverpool. So does it make sense to keep him in place? Probably. But then they've got to get rid Monday and get somebody in. And that kind of brings us on to these stories in the middle of the articles I was reporting on there. Who do you bring in? Klinsmann thrown his hat into the ring. Redknapp has thrown his hat into the ring. People have mentioned Robbie Keane. I think Robbie Keane wouldn't come as an interim basis. Sean Dyche has even been mentioned. It's simply incredible how we've got ourselves in this position. Absolutely incredible. It's ineptitude beyond belief. The fans could see, majority of fans probably, I would say, in December, that it was never going to work under Thomas Frank, and they went with him, give him the chance, and it ultimately failed, and the fans have proved right again. I just hope that they listen to what the majority of the fan base, and I would say 99% of the fan base are saying, even people outside the club saying Tudor's got to go. The pundits are saying Tudor's got to go. I've never actually seen such a swell of people saying that a manager simply has to move on if Spurs are going to stay in the Premier League. And this isn't like we're mid-table and safe from relegation. And ultimately, apart from a few Premier League positions, it wouldn't really matter that much. This is relegation. Spurs have got to act. They've got to do something. They've got to replace Igor Tudor, in my opinion. Give us the best chance. Now, who you bring in, we could argue about that for hours. Some people don't think Harry Redknapp is the right choice. Personally, I think somebody like a Redknapp coupled with somebody else like a Ryan Mason or a Jermaine Defoe or somebody like that, bring in a small team of people. Obviously, we have a figurehead that's ultimately the manager, but bring in a small team. Even Tim Sherbert, bring somebody in that knows the club, knows all about it, knows the players, and that's kind of where I would go with Mason, even if Mason wasn't the manager. If Mason came in with Harry Redknapp, for example, again, if you're going to go for a Pochettino in the summer, that seems to be, well, certainly what a majority of the fans want. Not everybody, I get that, but if Pochettino comes back, it is, I think Ali Gold mentioned this in one of his videos or articles, that it's a great handover for Poch, because Poch wouldn't be there from June, but Mason could be there. And really, he's worked with Poch before, of course, and he could be a really good handover and even be part of his coaching squad again. Whether Mason would want to do that, obviously he's been a manager in his own right. Didn't work out for him at West Brom, but West Brom haven't done particularly well since he left. So would Mason become part of Pochettino's coaching squad? That would make sense. That would absolutely make sense while Poch is away with the USA. Once they get knocked out of the World Cup, he comes back and he's got a really good handover there, and he can keep in contact with Ryan Mason about possible players. But are we going to be in the Premier League by that stage? It sounds like Pochettino would come back anyway, even if we were in the Championship, which is great news. But look, that's a conversation for another day. The moment for now, for me, is they've got to do something about Igor Tudor. This clearly isn't working. I don't think the players are responding to him. We need to bring somebody in that the players are going to respond to. Look, some people would say that the players have got to man up and actually get on with it, and they've failed loads of managers, and there is elements to that I certainly agree with. But, we've got to we've got to make a change. We've got to try something, because I'm telling you now, if we stick with Tudor, I could see us going down. I think there's only one way it's going to finish, and I can't see us picking up another point under Tudor. And I know it's been a limited number of games, but, lose to Liverpool. And let's face it, we're probably out of the Champions League already, even though we've got the home leg to come. It's not good, is it? It's not good. So, yeah, well, get down in the comments. Let me know, when do you think Spurs should have made the change? Personally, I kind of get the logic giving him Liverpool, but I would have rather him gone before Liverpool, if I'm brutally honest, because we kind of know which way that game's going to go if we're honest about it. Personally, I'd have Redknapp in with a small team around him. And finally, on that final article about relegation could help Spurs, I kind of get the logic, but look, Tottenham Hotspur need to be in the Premier League. They're a Premier League side. They're one of only, 6 clubs that have been totally present in the Premier League since it was founded in 1992. It's kind of a proud record to be and a good group to be part of that, and we don't want to slip out of this league. It would be unbelievably bad for the club financially and everything, and the players we would lose. So we've got to stay in the Premier League. And there's part of me in my brain thinking we're already down, but then you look at it, we've still got 9 games to save ourselves, 27 points to play for, so we can get out of it. I still think we need 3 wins. That report I think said 2 wins and a draw. I would be much more comfortable if we can somehow get 3 wins. It'd be lovely to get them before the end of April if we can somehow, and then kind of relax in May a little bit. But something needs to happen first. We've got to move on and get a new manager. But that's just my opinion. Get down in the comments. Let me know your feelings as a Tottenham Hotspur fan right now. And should we get rid of Tudor before the Liverpool game? Or after the Liverpool game, or do you think we should stick with him till the end of the season? Get down in the comments and let me know. And as always, come on you Spurs.